Okay. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you? You got your technical problems sorted out now?
Always. I always have problems here. So, what time is it now in Hong Kong?
Oh, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, sorry to keep you up late.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, we'll try to finish early and so you can go to bed early today. Okay, so can you start with
Fine.
telling us a little bit about yourself and your startups and a little bit of background?
Yeah, sure. My background, I was born in the UK. I was working in technology in London. Then I moved to Tokyo in Japan to work for a company called Nokia. And then I moved over to Hong Kong to do an MBA. And during my MBA, I created a startup inside China. And then I went to America to finish off my studies, and then came back and worked in a startup in Hong Kong as well. In Hong Kong, the startup I worked on, we started off doing photo apps and mobile development, and then we transitioned to do a fashion app, which was featured in TechCrunch as part of the Disrupt Battle, so we was one of the finalists. And now currently we're switching over to do another startup called Listable, which is all about creating different types of lists. Because we figured that with all the list apps out there, they're mostly all to do, so we thought we could do something which helps people create all sorts of different types of lists.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been in Hong Kong doing startups for about 4 years now.
Nice. So how is the startup scene looking like right now in Hong Kong, and how was it like 4 years ago?
Yeah, when I first started doing startups in Hong Kong, it was the community there was really small. So I joined up with about 4 or 5 other people who created a group called Hong Kong Startups. As part of trying to grow the startup community, we created a conference which allowed other startups to pitch. It brought in a lot of people around Hong Kong to come and look at this conference to see what was happening in the startup scene. A few investors started coming in, and it mushroomed from there. So from there, we created co-workspaces where people interested in creating startups or had no office to go to would start coming into this place, and they would start creating lots more startups happening.
So
From
basically,
there, there's actually now quite a few incubation centres as well now setting up.
okay, so you didn't wait for the government like to help you, so to help you and it's like start doing this. You just started this gathering and then you started your shared place and you're moving along and now you have great startups.
Yeah, that's effectively it. So there is government help out there, but for this type of community that we started off, because a lot of people are not ready to try to apply for funding from governments, particularly in Hong Kong. The government processes is very bureaucratic. So if you have they usually require like a business plan, which as a startup you're going to change that all the time. Yeah, so a 3-year plan is not much use really for a startup. And for a lot of people who just want to try to start up, yeah, it's all about finding people with a like-minded way of thinking, try to find new people who they can work with as well to create a brand new company. And that's even before, in fact, it's not even before a company's formed. It's getting the right type of ideas together to start working on a product before you even form a company. And the government only comes in when you already have a company or about to become a company, because that's the only legal entity that they can fund. They can't help out 1 or 2 people who are just currently working together on a new product.
Hoi, I love your accent, but can you make it a little bit lower, like talking? I love your English accent. That's people I see people. Did you understand everything? Yeah, like. Okay, good. Just worried. So I know Hong Kong is like government is amazing. Like everything is efficient, everything works properly. So, like I imagine if they are trying to help entrepreneurs, because I talked to you about this, like they're gonna do something really useful, like for you as an entrepreneur. But I was shocked to hear that actually the government failed to help entrepreneurs to do anything. So, like, what is the main reasons for the government to fail to lead like entrepreneurs and to help them?
And part of the reason is the bureaucracy behind it. Yeah, so you have lots of paperwork to do. You need to do business plans which are unrealistic. The people who evaluate what your business is all about have no experience in creating startups, particularly in today's fast-moving world. So, say you're doing a technology startup. Yeah, you give a business plan to a government organisation. They approve it, but in reality, you may be changing that after 2 months or changing the way the business model works very, very quickly. And the government model just isn't responsive to that. They're more fixed on like say a long 3 to 5 year R&D plan before you even go to product, before you even go to market. Yeah, that's how they traditionally see. So they tend to look at universities for what type of research is coming out of universities. If you have backing from universities or you have patents, then they're more likely to support you. And even the patent process today is not,
it's like
changing as well.
Like the old style, of like helping startups. Like startup with an R&D, with a business plan. They are like, I don't know, it's like doing a factory or something like that. This is like what's attractive for them. It's like they don't understand like the new technology that we are doing. Things are changing like that.
Yeah. It's like even if we look at the last couple of years, the lean movement's come through. And the governments really don't understand the lean movement. They don't really feasibly see how 2-3 people can build a company which can serve 1 million people.
Okay.
They don't understand that yet.
Okay, so what do you feel is like the good and bad about like startups in Hong Kong or starting a startup in Hong Kong?
Well, the good thing really is like if you're doing a hardware startup, for example, the supply chain is in your immediate vicinity. So you've got China there who can supply you with like lots of different types of hardware, so you can figure out how to build things quickly, how to build it and ship it. Yeah, so also in terms of say finance center, if you're building say a financial startup, there's always a market there for you to try to reach out and try to build something which serves what Hong Kong is good at. In terms of the government, when you do get into the incubation centres, they're pretty good at what you call matching costs. So they will help with things like if you're recruiting, particularly for the university systems here, if you're recruiting, they'll cover 50 to 75% of a student's costs. So you can build up good internship programs and recruit some good people in via the university system that way. They also help pay your rent if you get into their system. So on that side, that's pretty good. Right. The bad part really is part of its culture. For example, the people in Hong Kong are pretty much, I'd say, startup adverse, they're entrepreneurial adverse. So they really want people want to be in large companies with large salaries.
Yeah.
And an example
I was just explaining to them like how like family is a big part of like any one person life. So how is this affecting like the entrepreneurs and the startup scene?
Yeah, recruiting can be pretty difficult because even though we can get part funded by government to recruit students, the students themselves are looking for big companies, right? And even if the student wants to work for or even an individual wants to work for a startup, sometimes you have to go and convince their parents as well. So I have a friend who's doing growing a startup here pretty well called Enterprise. They're Series A financed. Even when he recruits now, sometimes he has to try to convince the candidate's parents.
So you need to take to their parents to
Did
convince
you get
them to work in a startup. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I just want to remind everyone, if you have any questions, please just raise your hand and I'll give you the microphone here. Okay, so you talked about like universities and like they're old mentality. Is this
Right.
changing, or like how is like universities actually like providing you with like fresh graduates, like really talented people that you can like employ in your startup? Because I had this problem here actually in Kuwait, and I end up with a Spanish team out there.
Yeah, I think in Hong Kong, part of the problem is if you compare it to America, say, so it's like when I was out in America, one thing you found is when you get the resumes in of fresh students or students who are still studying, a lot of their extracurricular activity is based around coding or engineering. Right? But in Hong Kong, that doesn't happen. What tends to happen is because grades are so important that a lot of students do extra study and don't do the same practical things that someone in America would do as part of their hobbies. So specifically for us, when we try to recruit, one thing we look at is like, if we see someone who codes, right, we want to know that that's what they're passionate about doing, not something that they're doing because their parents told them this is a good way to earn money and to get a good job.
Okay.
But then there's two things really. Yeah. The other thing really is like, because there isn't a big technology, lot of software development in Hong Kong, the internships for them to get experience isn't there either. So that means it becomes more important to look for at their hobbies, whether they do that in their spare time.
Okay. Hoi, can I ask you to turn on the video, and we'll do the same? Maybe you can see your face better. Yeah.
See if my video is working here.
Okay. Can you see us? We have a lot of people today.
Oh, I don't have video.
Can you see us?
I don't have video on my phone at the moment.
Yeah, they're your phone.
You can't see my face.
Okay.
You can show them the face from my Skype avatar.
Yeah, we have your face on Skype. Okay, so let me close our video as well. Okay, we have a question from the floor. Yes? So the question is, if like someone from Kuwait wanna tap like the opportunities happening in Hong Kong, or should he start a company in Hong Kong, or he do it like from a company in Kuwait, or like I think it's a little bit broad broad question, but
yeah, I think generally if you want to target a specific country, if you're a startup, then you really need to be there. I think even if you look at say a lot of the American startups which are global, they focus in America first. Say for any European companies, an example being Spotify, that was in Europe first before it went to America. It's because it's the time difference is always going to be an issue, particularly if you need to do a lot of sales, or you not need to do a lot of business development, because you need to be on the ground and talking with people or contacting people, even if it's even over email. The time factor is still an issue when you want to do things fast, which you need to do when you're a startup.
okay.
So I think there.
Okay, thanks. You have another question? Yes?
How come he hasn't thought about opening a business or doing a startup in the UK?
The question is, well, why you didn't think about starting a business in UK?
I haven't been back to the UK for a long time, and I was in Hong Kong at the moment, and Asia to me seems like a good opportunity. UK is quite mature in certain ways, and I always want to explore the culture out here. So that's one of the reasons why I'm out here and then doing it here.
Okay.
Nothing more than curiosity.
Okay. Is there any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Maybe he would think in the future to invest in Middle East.
Okay. Do you have any plans to come or invest in the Middle East?
Not at the moment. The plan at the moment is to try to grow the startup to then get. Well, it's not a no. It's just not at the moment.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So, can you tell us like a successful story that happened in Hong Kong, like a startup with like just an idea and then now became something big?
Yeah, there's a few examples. we can go, if we're talking about, say, exits, I think people who successfully sold, you have a company called EditGrid. They were creating something similar to Google Spreadsheets about 5 years ago, and they successfully sold to Apple.
Nice.
After they sold, their team moved over to Silicon Valley to join the Apple team. If we're talking about Series A funding or getting a lot of funding, there's a few examples in recent. There's companies called Six Waves, which does social games on Facebook. They got 17 million US dollars in the Series A, and this year they got 10 million US dollars in Series B. Nice. Last year we had a company called Enterprise. They take Android devices and they split it into two parts. One part being for business, one part being for personal. The idea there is that companies can then split the bill with the employee and also keep the corporate part separate from the personal part. So if the phone gets stolen, they can still write the corporate part, and the person who owns the phone can still control all their personal parts. But they got about 8 million US dollars last year in the Series A.
Nice.
And just this year, there's a company called 9gag. This is a humour site. They just do humour websites which are about house jokes.
Nice.
They get about 1 billion page views a month, and they got about 3 million US dollars in Series A this year.
Nice.
So there are a few success stories.
By the way, do you remember the girl who was with us in the MBA? Like, I think it was in your class. They sold their company to Groupon.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer. How much did
they
sell the company?
You buy.
It was really spanning company. I don't know how did they sell it. Like 1 million or something. Crazy.
It's not. As far as I know, there was a couple of companies. It was like around the time, around same as a lot of other countries. A lot of Groupon clones came up. So you had in Hong Kong. You had You Buy, I Buy. You had
yeah, this kind of
BCD or something like that. Yeah, there's about
flash
5 companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Groupon were looking to buy companies from around the world, so they picked up You Buy, I Buy in Hong Kong.
Okay, yeah. Hoi, last question. So now we are in Kuwait. Basically, there is almost Okay, question from the floor.
Yeah. Does he recommend outsourcing technical resources?
Good question. Okay, nice. The question is, do you recommend like companies, let's say in Kuwait, to outsource technical teams from Hong Kong?
No, not from Hong Kong.
Okay.
Because as mentioned, it's hard for us. It's even hard for us to recruit technical teams. Like outsourcing engineering per se,
yeah.
I think that's okay to start off with. If you're a technology company, right, then you need to have the technology needs to be the core part of your team. But if technology is something that just complements your business model, then it's okay to outsource. And where you outsource, I don't think it really matters where you outsource, as long as the people who you outsource it to is people you can work well with and trust. Because there are so many different types of companies or people you can outsource to who are pretty bad to work with. So it's always better to do that based on recommendation more than anything else.
Okay, last question from me is, like, basically now in Kuwait we don't have almost anything, okay? We don't have many great startups,
right.
We don't have a lot of investors, so basically what should we do, you know? There is some bright, like smart people, but how can we like spark and kickstart everything here in Kuwait?
I would recommend doing something. What you're doing now is, I think, it's a good start. It's like you're building people up who are interested in startups, and that tends to build up momentum. Because what you got quite a few people there today, and I'm guessing that some of the people there are interested in startups but haven't started a startup. You've got some people who are started startups. You've got some people maybe interested in looking at what startups are already out there. But the point being is, before that, you guys did not have a chance to network. But as you get to network, the network grows and you get more people who are likely to create a startup together. 2, 3 people who click and say, hey, yeah, let's do it. And when you get these teams together, the next question becomes, okay, where can we work? Where can we start? And that's when you start thinking about co-working spaces. And the co-working spaces then attract more people in. And then you can start building up, little conferences where you can present what all these little teams are doing, which builds up again more interest. So it's like a snowball. When you roll it down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I think you're on the right step.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your time, and please, now you can go to sleep safely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, hopefully I see you again in Hong Kong. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, وهذا Hong Kong. Thanks a lot. And we'll just have a break for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back with Dr. Naif and Tallah.